Whew. This life is a simulation, but we are creating the simulation within ourselves. The fact that it's a simulation, an illusion, doesn't take anything away from how incredible it is. It doesn't take away how holy it is to us. I take video games as an example. Video games aren't real, right? You can't ever reach out and touch a video game. You can touch the controller, you can touch your monitor, but you can never touch the data with your fingers. And this illusion that we live in is the same to a degree. When you're playing a video game, you sit in the real world and you, in large part, give up the experience of this four-dimensional reality that we live in for a 2D representation of an alternate reality, let's call it, on the screen. We're enjoying a lower dimensional experience for fun, for the feeling of freedom within the safety of your home. The world that we live in is a messy place right now, and sometimes it's nicer to just, even if you're giving up all this depth that we live in, it can be more enjoyable sometimes to just forget about all of this and just delve into the game. It can be a form of escapism in a way, and I don't mean to say that in a, I'm not putting escapism in a negative light, so to speak, when I say that. It's a nice break from comparatively the vast expansiveness that we inhabit in the real world. Now, back in spirit, where we come from, the real life, there isn't really anything to escape from in that same sense. But it is, in the same way, giving up a richer experience to come down, especially those of us here on earth, come down, 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 way down into an experience that is removed from real life. Many games are violent, right? So many video games have to do with violence in one way or another. It's giving ourselves an environment to experience those things in, to have fun, feeling like a super badass, roaming around, doing whatever the fuck you please, It's kind of like the fun, I suppose, of being scared in a controlled way where you know you're safe and you can unplug at any moment, right? I can turn the game off, and I know the game isn't real anyway, so it doesn't really scare me like that. Even if you might have a jump scare in a game or something like that that can truly scare the fuck out of you. but but you know that you're just sitting in your room, the monsters are just on the screen. And in that way, it's very much the same. One of the main differences, of course, is the character in the video game doesn't have its own consciousness the way we do. If you think of your higher mind or your oversoul, which is basically just your soul, it's the larger version of it. We come as the soul down into physical reality, down into it. But our oversoul is back in spirit still, very much aware of what we're doing, and in a way there's a direct comparison from you sitting there with a controller and your oversoul sitting there back in spirit, allowing a part of itself to experience physical reality. And even going as far as to experience the amnesia that we come here with, in forgetting who we are, where we come from, why we're here. You could say, in a sense, this is like a very extreme video game. And those of us that choose to incarnate here on Earth, we're a special bunch. This isn't the only place in existence where you can experience this level of darkness and confusion and feeling lost. But it's one of few, as my understanding goes. So like imagine a video game where and we love depth in video games, don't we? We love rich lore and the video game, at least in a lot of cases, maybe I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I know I like my video games to have their own economy, their own physics. The more depth in the video game, really, the funner it is because it's that much more enticing to just get to know everything and have that the depth of that experience. So imagine with me if there was just a literal video game that you could download where when you put the VR goggles on and you put the headset on, you also put a little plug in the top of your head where I'm going to agree while I'm in the game that I don't remember anything else but the game. I'm not going to remember that I'm sitting here in my chair in my grandmother's office. Why would we do that? Because it's fun. because we're a little crazy. If you are here on Earth with me, you're a bit of a psycho. I mean that in a fun way. And psycho might not be the right word. I might be a little ignorant there. Sadist, we could say sadist to a degree. It's just we understand no matter how scary the experience will be, that ultimately we are safe and we will always eventually return home. And in the span of infinity, which is what we exist in back in spirit, this life is over just like that. Just as soon as it starts, it's over. So, coming from that understanding, there's really nothing scary about it. Even if we experience scary things, scary moments while we're here, it doesn't translate when we go back home, right? We're sitting there with the controller. We know exactly what's going on. There's no loss. There's no pain. It's just the depth of experience that we get to endure, and through this process we learn so much about ourselves, and we get to see ourselves shine while being completely disconnected from everything we know. It's so inspiring as someone who has known the nature of where we all come from and where we're all going when this is over. It's so inspiring to see other souls that I understand as myself at a different frequency. Not myself as in me, Tyler Hood, but myself as in the one behind all of this making the decisions. That is creation itself, the all that is, God. And I want to clear up any confusion that might hit our minds when I say that. We are not God in the egotistical sense of, oh, I'm God, so I'm this, I don't know how to put it other than, I'm this thing I should brag about and be all full of myself. That's not the real essence of who we are. When you feel the all that is inside you, the last thing you really want to do to anyone who doesn't feel that is brag about it, because you realize how fortunate you are to be in that space. It would be like having a lunch pail with my favorite lunch in it and being in front of someone who hasn't eaten in 5 days. It's really no fun in that way to have that amount of abundance and not being able to readily share it. But I'm starting to digress a little. It's so amazing as someone who knows who we are to see people, other souls that still don't know who they are, but they shine anyway. It's so fucking amazing to see us down here. Oh, fuck. I see people every day that think they're going to end one day. And maybe they don't think that wholeheartedly, but they at least carry a fear to some degree, at least in some cases, right? Of thinking that they're going to die and that they're not going to exist anymore, and they shine anyway. Like, that's who the fuck we are, Matt. Fuck. It's so fucking amazing. Oh, it is so easy to love everybody when I was living in a city a while ago and I saw a man on the C train on transit. And this guy had a garbage bag full of cans, right? Not the most fortunate looking man, but he was the most fortunate man on that train. So you should have heard this guy on the phone with his wife, just overjoyed because he went to see a friend or somebody and they gave him this garbage bag full of cans so he could go turn those cans in for some pocket change to give to his granddaughter. And that guy thinks that all he is a human being who may or may not end someday. And the essence of who he is may or may not carry on. You know, he didn't have that knowing. You know, I had a short conversation with him afterwards because I had to tell him how fucking inspiring that was to hear him. You know, a sea train full of people that are probably more well to do than he was, you know. And he was so fucking thankful for a garbage bag full of cans. That's who the fuck we are, man. All of us. You know, that guy, that guy wasn't always that grateful, you know. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't born like that and lived every day of his life like that, but he got to that point. And you know, he had he had no qualms about letting everybody hear how happy he was with so little. He had no ego about, you know, I can't let these people hear how happy I am over a garbage bag full of cans because they might judge me and go, oh, really, buddy? Garbage bag full of cans, that's what you're thankful for? Right? But really, anybody who would have thought something like that, go fuck yourself anyway. And that's a quick side note, by the way. You know, we can all take a lesson from that because even I understand, you know, I don't mean to say that sounding arrogant, like I think I'm better, because I truly don't. I know better than to think I'm better than anyone, but I am. I have such an advantage in that I was handed a trip back to spirit when I was in my teenage years. And I've been operating this whole time with the knowing, even if I forget it sometimes in the past, I always had the knowing that I'm not going to end and I get to live infinite other lives. And even I still, in the past and in the present, still a little bit hold myself back from shining over a fear of being judged, because sometimes, at least in the past, you know, people would come down on me when they would see that light shining within me. And I understand now that they were just lost, hurt people that saw someone being happy with maybe less than they had and not knowing how to handle it. So I let them convince me that I was being too much, or that I was just being cringy or something silly like that, you know. But you know, the point is, if someone is, you know, if you're gonna shine your light, and someone's gonna judge you for that for some weird reason, or try to dim your light when they see it, think of it like this: how miserable would you have to be to do that to someone else who is shining, right? Part of this, we are all one thing, you know. Part of that is it can make it easier to see, say, somebody judging you and go, wow, okay. Like I said, like how miserable would I have to be snarling at somebody for shining, right? So just as a side note, I think we can all benefit from keeping that in mind, and you know, understanding that we are absolutely free to shine our lights. And if anybody thinks you're too much, or that you're too goofy, or just any of these negative things, they're just hurt, you know? They're just suffering. And when we're hurt and suffering, sometimes we don't know. we fall under the severe illusion that if we bring others down to our level, that's somehow bringing us up, even though it's not, clearly. And I can learn from that just as much as anybody else. I hope the video game analogy can bring you some peace. And I will definitely be talking about this more, because I'm just getting started with how much fun I can have with that analogy. I love you. Thank you for being here on this crazy, crazy planet with me. This is such an incredible place to be. It doesn't always feel this amazing in every moment, but we will get there to where it does. We will get there.